did you ignore, did the administration ignore the order from the district judge? It's a simple question.
I've answered it. I've answered it because the Department of Justice has made a filing in the court. But let me make another point. The judge, in this case, put the lives of every single person on those aircraft at risk. Did he know how much fuel was in those planes? Did he know the flight conditions? Did he know the weather conditions? Did he know how many crew hours? Did he know the need for crew rest? Did he know any of that? No. This judge violated the law. He violated the Constitution. He defied the system of government that we have in this country.
Stephen Miller got into another argument on CNN where he lashed out over being notified of his fascism. It showed up in his frustration over a judge telling the administration that they can't keep breaking the law.
Now, this hearing covers the controversy over whether the Trump administration intentionally defied a judge's order Saturday, asking them to hold off on carrying out deportations of some migrants the U.S. has accused of being affiliated with a Venezuelan gang. The order also said that the government needed to turn around any planes that were already in the air. So today the judge called a hearing demanding to know why that didn't happen. Now, during this high-stakes hearing, the judge was clearly not happy with the Justice Department's responses. The judge was shaking his head, clearly frustrated, as he demanded answers about why they didn't comply. And the judge insisted when they argued that they did not need to comply because some of these planes were already out of U.S. airspace, he said, it's clear, his powers do not lapse at the continent's edge. The judge summed up how he viewed the Justice Department's argument, saying, we don't care. We'll do what we want.
After being reprimanded by the judge in this case of ignoring due process and relying on their bigoted minds instead of the justice system for deportations, Miller tried playing his white guy card in place of legal standards.
So you called the judge's order just earlier today, quote, patently unlawful, end quote, and said that it was an assault on democracy itself. Does that mean that the administration is ignoring this order, and might you ignore future court orders that meet the criteria you laid out?
The President of the United States and his administration reserve all rights under the Constitution to conduct national security operations in defense of the United States. The Alien Enemies Act, which was passed into law by the founding generation of this country, men like John Adams, was written explicitly to give the President the authority to repel an alien invasion of the United States. That is not something that a district court judge has any authority whatsoever to interfere with, to enjoin, to restrict, or to restrain any way. You can read the law yourself. There's not one clause in that law that makes it subject to judicial review, let alone district court review.
The question was if the administration will continue to ignore court orders that they don't like, and apparently his answer was yes. And when asked the same question that Tom Homan couldn't answer yesterday, Miller jumped on the floor and started flailing like a spoiled crybaby.
Can you prove that these individuals were linked with Tren de Aragua and that Tren de Aragua is part of a Maduro operation, Stephen?
So first of all, Andrew Weissman is an absolute moron. He is a moron, and he is a fool, and he's a degenerate. Andrew Weissman has devoted his career to putting innocent Americans in jail, taking away their civil liberties. He was involved in the Mueller coup against a democratically elected President Donald J. Trump. Weissman should never be on TV anywhere. He should hang his head in eternal shame for what he's done to this country. And now he's up there shilling for people who rape and murder Americans. That's who Andrew Weissman is. I met the mother of Jocelyn Nungary, Alexis Nungary, who President Trump honored at the State of the Union, named a national wildlife refuge after her daughter. Tren de Aragua terrorists took that 12-year-old angel and they tortured her to death. They sexually assaulted her.
None of these guys are very good at changing the subject when they're cornered on their obvious attempts to ignore our legal system so that they can attack and deport whoever they want. But to have this guy put his gremlin face on TV to yell and scream doesn't advance their argument at all.
Shilling.
His boss regularly attacks the legitimacy of judges that rule against his flimsy arguments in court, but Miller's petulance doesn't land the same as Trump's posts. This radical left lunatic of a judge, a troublemaker, an agitator who was sadly appointed by Barack Hussein Obama, was not elected president. He didn't win the popular vote by a lot. He didn't win all 7 swing states. He didn't win 2,750 to 525 counties. He didn't win anything. I won for many reasons, in an overwhelming mandate. But fighting illegal immigration may have been the #1 reason for this historic victory. I'm just doing what the voters wanted me to do. This judge, like many of the crooked judges I'm forced to appear before, should be impeached. We don't want vicious, violent, and demented criminals, many of them deranged murderers, in our country. Make America great again. The instability is off the charts with this guy. So much so, Chief Justice John Roberts decided to finally point out just how unhinged his thirst for unilateral power has become.
This is a huge deal. Here you have Chief Justice John Roberts appearing to push back on statements President Trump made earlier today, suggesting that a judge, James Boasberg, who of course temporarily blocked deportations by the Trump administration, or at least tried to, should be impeached. And here the Chief Justice writes, "For more than 2 centuries, it has been established that impeachment is not an appropriate response to disagreement concerning a judicial decision. The normal appellate review process exists for that purpose." This is not just another test of Trump's expansive use of executive power. It is also a test of the extent to which he and his lawyers believe he can be checked by the courts. So here, Judge Boasberg getting some support from really the most senior justice in the land.
Now, I do think they need to calm down on the assumption that John Roberts won't still side with the president he and other conservative justices gave virtual immunity to. So, at least until they get the chance to do whatever Trump wants them to, Roberts at least wants Trump to go through the appellate process to keep the image of an independent Supreme Court intact. I say that because they've watched him attack judges and political opponents by claiming that they're doing exactly what he's doing and never seem to have a problem with that.
The other side plays the ref. Crew and Weissman and all these people. And again, Lisa Monaco should not be involved in this because she's been after Trump for years, and now she's like the second person at the DOJ. But she's with all these people. And they're playing the ref, and they say terrible things about judges. They do it with the Supreme Court justices because they think they're going to intimidate them. I think it should be illegal. That's what the DOJ should look into, the legality of these people taking a brilliant judge and demeaning her, and taking other people that are fair and solid and demeaning them. It's called playing the ref. These people are playing the ref when they are allowed to call for recusal, impeachment of a judge because they're not getting their way. And for some reason, the other side doesn't do that. They don't do that. The other side is much softer. Republicans play it a lot softer, but they play it legitimately.
Do you hear that? Back in September, he thought it should be illegal for what he claimed was politicians playing the refs or saying terrible things about judges to intimidate them. He thought it should be illegal to take a judge and demean her. And here's the best part. He said they call for impeachment of a judge because they're not getting their way.
This judge, like many of the crooked judges I am forced to appear before, should be impeached.
And it's very, very far from the first time he's done what he deems should be illegal. Demean, intimidate, and say terrible things about judges.
It seems hard to believe that judges want to try and stop us from looking for corruption, especially when we found hundreds of millions of dollars worth, much more than that. And it seems hard to believe that a judge could say, we don't want you to do that. Well, so maybe we have to look at the judges. This judge is of Mexican heritage. I'm building a wall, okay? I'm building a wall. I am going to do very well with the Hispanics, the Mexicans,
So
everybody.
no Mexican judge could ever be involved in a case that involves you?
He's a member of a society where, very pro-Mexico, and that's fine. It's all fine. But
Except that you're calling into
I think
question
he
his
should
heritage.
recuse himself.
But he's American. He's an American.
He's of Mexican heritage, and he's very proud of it, as I am where I come
But
from,
he's
my
an
parents.
American. You keep talking about
Jake.
it's a conflict
Jake,
of interest because of
Jake.
Mexico.
And nobody can even believe this. Other people, law professors, they've been saying, how can you take that person's right away? You're supposed to be running the country, but we're not allowed to look. And if a judge is going to say you're not allowed to look for it, that's pretty sad for our country.
Again, demean, intimidate, and say terrible things. Even want them to recuse themselves. It should be illegal. So who's going to arrest this rogue president that attacks judges that nail him on his rampant criminality of not only going after them, but promoting the ones that show complete and utter fealty to him? in hopes of signaling to other judges that it'll be beneficial if they abandon their principles and bow to him too.
We had an amazing judge in Florida, and her name is Eileen Cannon, and I didn't know her. I still don't know her. I don't believe I ever spoke to her, even during the trial. But I did appoint her, federal judge, and these fake lawyers, these horrible human beings, were hitting her so hard. I saw her the couple of days that I was in court, and I thought her decorum was amazing. Actually, she was brilliant. She moved quickly. She was the absolute model of what a judge should be, and she was strong and tough.
The federal judge who dismissed the criminal case against Donald Trump for allegedly mishandling classified documents is now under consideration for the role of Attorney General if Trump wins back the White House. The sources tell us that Judge Eileen Cannon is now on a list of several possible candidates for the job.
I'm very proud to have appointed her, but she's very smart and very strong and loves our country. I mean, loves our country. We need judges that love our country, so they do the right thing. I think she's a brilliant woman. I think she handled a scam. It's a scam case. But in her case, she was very courageous, and it only made her angry. Wouldn't you say? It just made her angry. She didn't like it.